Hey, this is Luke. I hope you're doing well. This is the Digging Deeper for week 3 of our Judges series. And in this particular video, I'm going to answer a really interesting question that I got after last week's message. So last week was about Ehud killing big fat King Eglon, and about Deborah and Barak and Jael and the death of Sisera. And I got a great question from a mom whose son was in the service. And he didn't ask this, but she could sort of imagine him asking, wait a second, it seems like murder is sort of glorified here, right? The Ehud story is real funny, and Deborah writes this praise song to the Lord about Jael driving a tent peg through Sisera's head. I thought that the sixth commandment said not to murder. How do we make sense of this? And she specifically asked, how would you explain that to a child? And once again, I'm going to go to my go-to move. I don't know how you'd say that exactly to a child, but I'll give it a shot. So I think we have to understand a couple things. First is the context of Judges. The indication from Judges is inherently messy. There isn't anybody that is clearly all good, and then there's definitely people that are all bad, but most people in the book are a real mixture. And so it's a little bit hard to say very cleanly, well, this is good, this is bad, this is black, this is white. There's a lot of muddy and a lot of gray. And so I think there are things in the book of Judges that in and of themselves, we would go, man, that is not a good thing. But in the bigger picture, it's something that, despite the fact that that individual act was bad, in the big picture, God is using it to accomplish his saving purposes. This reminds me a bit, actually, of the cross as well, right? You would look at Jesus Christ on the cross and say, there's nothing that could possibly be worse than that. That's the worst evil in all of history. And yet, somehow that was predestined to take place and accomplishing God's bigger purposes. So I think that's something we've got to try to understand. I think we also have to understand that in the Old Testament, particularly these early parts of it, Joshua and Judges, the judgment of God because of wickedness among the Canaanites was for them to be driven out and for them to be killed, that was the just punishment from God. So Genesis 15 actually says, this is to Abraham long before any of this happens. Hey, you're going to go off into Egypt, your family, and you're going to be there 400 years, and then you're going to come back. And the reason God gives is he says the sin of the Amorites who are in this land is not yet complete. In other words, if you took it over now, it would be unjust of me for let you to take it over now, because their sin hasn't reached its full capacity. But over the next 400 years, it'll reach that capacity, and when your ancestors go back in, it will be right. It'll be my judgment for you to expel them, in many cases killing. And so there's a kind of justice that's involved with that. But the Bible does say, thou shalt not murder. And the Bible says that every person is made in God's image and therefore has inherent dignity. And so how would we explain this to a child? We would say that, I don't know, I'm doing my best. I'd probably say something, if my kids asked me about this, I think I would tell them, murder is wrong. Murder is taking someone's life, usually out of your own personal, vengeful, angry, jealous, prideful reasons, and that's wrong. There are times in history and in the Bible when it seems like killing is part of God's plan and is a just thing, but it's never in a personal retribution kind of a way. It's always as a bigger thing that's part of some sort of just cause. So that's my best shot at it. I don't think it's a great answer, to be honest, but it's the best I can do at this point. And I appreciate the question. Thanks.